The next thing on the agenda is the panel for the Oregon Raspberry Blackberry Commissioners. You know there's 4 of you here, so why don't you come on up front here. There's Tim Kreder, Jerry's here, isn't he? Jerry Stratton. And Don Sturm. Jerry took off. Ken VanDyke. Are there any other of the commissioners here? If you guys could take a seat. He stepped out at a very convenient time here.
He's the smart one.
You know, I put this on the agenda because I think it's really important for you guys to know what's going on with your berry commission and to give these guys a chance to let you know what they've been up to, because they've been devoting a fair amount of time and effort to this thing. I don't have any big format. I think we'll go down the row here and have each of you say something and whatever you want to say about the commission or what issues you're dealing with. Start up.
All right, I guess I'm the chairman right now.
Yeah.
I'm the president chairman right now. My name's Ken Kreder. I guess we're in charge of promoting blackberries and raspberries for the state of Oregon for you growers. And the growers are taxed 1% of your gross value based on processed price. And so right now we're getting a little less than $600,000 a year that we spend for you to help promote blackberries and raspberries. We have a promotion committee, legislative education, and labor committee, and research committee. So we try and figure out what our needs are and where we can spend your money the best that we can to promote blackberries within the United States and throughout the world. So we give money to Oregon State, we give money to USDA, we give money to Food and First Marketing to help promote our product within the state, nation, and internationally. So we're attempting to do what we think is best for the industry, but we can always receive input from you, and we're always looking for to do a better job. And we are one commissioner short now, so if anybody wants to join the commission, you'd be more than welcome to put your name into the hat and see if Katie Kova will appoint you.
Tim, how long have you been on the commission?
Seems like forever. No, it's been 6 short years that I've been on the commission right now. I don't think I'm the longest serving commissioner by any means, but I've been on for 6 years.
I'm Don Sturm from Sturm's Berry Farm. I'm an ORBC commissioner. Gosh, I've probably been on here the longest, but I don't think I'm the most knowledgeable. I've probably been on it, I would guess, 15 years or so, on and off. We just try and do the best job we can with the growers' money and try and spend it with our heart in it like it's our own. But the one thing that Tim didn't cover, it kind of did, is we could really use your input on if you think we're doing a bad job, if you think we're doing a good job or a direction. This doesn't, I guess it pays a whole bunch, 0. So if you double do it, still be getting 0. So we appreciate your input on that things. We think we're doing great things, but maybe you don't, and if you don't, you know, let us know and we'll try and do a different direction.
Hi, I'm Ken VanDyke. Probably one of the newest commissioners. I've been on about 3 years now, I guess. Before I got involved in it, I really didn't know what the commission did, and I guess I questioned that. Hey, Jerry, come on up here, man. I guess I questioned how much you guys are aware of what the commission does. We spend quite a little bit of money on promotion. Food First Marketing is a company we have hired. They move about, or they spend about $250,000 a year promoting berries, and they attend several different events trying to promote blackberries and raspberries, not just in the United States, but a lot of it now in Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore, Taiwan. I think personally they've been doing a really good job, and then on the research side of things, we put out money to Oregon State for the breeding program, and Joe DeFrancisco and some of the guys for USDA, yeah. And then also one of the latest projects that we just agreed to approve was kind of interesting to me. There's a young guy at Oregon State that's going to do a research project on health benefits for dairy cows by putting the berry seeds that come out of the puree into the feed right at calving time. And he's got some information that says that they can reduce the problems that cows have during calving by 80–90%. And so he's going to run this project through and just see what kind of information comes out of it. But you know, at first it seemed pretty far-fetched, but the more you think about it, right now those seeds are kind of a waste product, and if it turns into a health benefit, it might go a long ways, you know, not just in the dairy or beef industry, but possibly even carry over into the beef for people. And so we'll kind of see where that goes here in the next year or two. But other than that, you know, Jared, it's your turn to talk for a bit. Whatever you want.
Not really a lot to say. I see a lot of people here. I wish a lot more would show up for our meetings so we could get a little more input of what you actually want us investing the money in, and if you had some, you know, some better ideas so that we can go in more directions. There's a lot of research projects. I'm on the National Council I just formed, and they're going a lot on the nutritional value also. They have a lot of like colon health and heart disease and stuff like that on what berry, you know, raspberries they can do. They've already issued a lot of the contracts to researchers, and they're moving. We're just getting started. One of the big things we're waiting on right now is they're trying to get customs to collect the payments from all the shippers that are shipping in and out, so that we don't have to mess with it. As soon as it comes in the U.S., customs will automatically charge it, and it'll come to us. But it's a slow process.
How much money are they talking about?
As far as the total budget,
Yeah.
it's over $2 million. I think about $2.5 million. And I forget what the original setup for customs was quite a bit of money, but I think it's going to pay off rather than us having to deal with all the importers, that it's just automatically done and we get, you know, the money is transferred over to us. But there's, like I say, we're just getting our feet on the ground. A lot of the people are from up in the Linden area, British Columbia. We have a gentleman from Chile. We have a couple people from the East Coast. We have an importer here in Portland. And we meet about twice a year. And other than that, we do phone conferences, because when you got people coming from Chile and everywhere else, it's kind of hard to put it all together.
And actually, there's one more detail that would affect these folks here, which is the assessment. Is the National Raspberry Processing Organization you're talking about does assess 1 penny per pound for all the raspberries. So that's one of the issues the commission's been dealing with.
But that's only processed raspberries.
Processed raspberries.
That has nothing to do with fresh market.
I can give you some.
Anybody out there have any questions about what the commission does or what we're supposed to be doing, or have any suggestions? Now's a good time to speak up.
All right, we're done.
I got a question for you, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but in the next 5 years, what do you guys see as the main issues with our industry And how is the board going to solve those issues or deal with them? And what can we as growers do to help you come up with the answers? But what are the big issues coming up?
I think the next 5-year big issues to deal with are labor and immigration reform. I think another issue that we have is how to expand our industry. I think there's a huge demand for blackberries and raspberries, both here and abroad. How do we satisfy that demand? We see demand in hazelnuts just skyrocketing, and a lot of it's going to China. So China's a huge market, in my opinion. We've got a lot of expansion opportunities in fresh market if we can deal with the labor issues. So we also help send people back to Washington, D.C. to try and help lobby for blackberries and raspberries.
I would have to agree with Tim. My concern for growers and my concern myself is labor is one of our hugest problems. And as you can see, Tom's did a good job of kind of putting that in perspective and bringing them in. Just, 10 years ago, this thing would probably be all reports on research and promotion would be 99% of it. And farming times have changed. I know it kind of gives you the doom and gloom, but it's something that we got to look at and figure out. So our hands on the commission are kind of tied in that respect to lobbyists and different things, but we do the best job we can with staying in those guidelines and trying to do something about it. The other thing is promotion. Health benefits is huge. It's in the spotlight, and that's one way of expanding our market. So we're trying to change over and put a little more of our marketing into health benefits and do that direction is what I would say.
I guess my opinion, in the next 5 years, one of the main things we need to work on, and we have been working hard, is promoting more usage of blackberries in more markets, because it's pretty obvious if you look at the numbers, the acres going in has been increasing pretty steadily, and fortunately our market has been increasing right along with it. One of the main things we need to continue to do, in my opinion, is to have a steady supply at a fair price, and we won't lose our customers, and we'll gain market share. I guess the other thing on labor, this last year we went back, every year I guess we go back to Washington, D.C. We send back, usually we join up with the Blueberry and Strawberry Commission. I have a couple people from each one go back and meet with all of our senators and representatives and try to push for a legal, dependable source of labor, so that we, as farmers, aren't sitting here worried about the Department of Labor dropping in and giving you a fine because you got the wrong people, the wrong conditions, everything's always wrong. And it would just be nice if we could just harvest our crops, pay everybody a fair price, and we all go home happy. And that's kind of what we're shooting for, is to get a good, reliable, dependable, legal source of labor to harvest the crops and keep everything running smooth.
I agree with the labor deal. Another thing that kind of hit me this week is we're starting to get lists from the packers on pesticide tolerances because of the amount of fruit being shipped overseas. And I got my list, and there's a couple of things on there I'm going to have to make some changes they don't want. And so I think we're going to run into it sooner or later. I'm not sure what they use in the Asian countries and what have you, but they don't like some of the stuff that we use. So how are we going to get the pesticides that they use licensed over here, get labels on, so that the fruit that we ship to them is agreeable to them? Because I think there was about 12 things I got on the raspberry list that they don't want us to use because they want to ship the product overseas. So somehow we're going to have to be compatible if we want to, because that market's growing a lot, especially in the Asian countries. That's just a worry I ran into this week.
Of course, we're all worried about spotted wing. We're all worried about the brown marmorated stink bug, the resistance that we're becoming developed now for some of the fungicides that we have to deal with, the MLRs or MRLs that we have to comply with. There's a huge demand for organics, and Oregon State has gotten the money to help try to figure that out. There's going to be a webinar here in the future to figure out how to deal with organic blackberries, because there is a huge demand. Consumers want what they want and what they can get are always two different things, but they want more organics, and so we have to be aware of that. And so as we work through this, how do we control the bugs? How do we keep our fruit clean? We have the FSMA, Food Safety Modernization Act, that we have to deal with. So are we putting on clean water? How do we deal with that? How do our packers and retailers deal with that? What are our options if we don't comply? We have to comply with the federal law, we have to comply with state law. And the regulations are overwhelming, as we all know. But what are our choices? We eat foreign food or we comply with the regulations. And it's sometimes a tough road to hoe. We've been working on quinclorac to get that so we can control some of our weeds. And spotted wing Drosophila, we're on our last year of the federal money, I think, to help us control that. And I think we've been cooperating with other universities on how to deal with that. And but yet it is going to continue to be an issue. And if we work together, I think we can figure out how to control it. But we also are going to have more puree fruit, high protein puree fruit. And we're going to have to learn how to gauge consumer acceptance or how to figure that out. We had an RFP that request for proposal that asked. They were asking for money to see to test to see how many brown marmorated stink bugs you could eat before we noticed. And so our thoughts for the research committee was we need to prevent brown marmorated stink bug, not figure out how to see how many we could eat. So it's tough. Any other questions?
Do you have any the GMO situation that's been going on?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Question was GMO, how are we relating to it? And at this time we're not looking for any GMO varieties in raspberry or blackberries. Chad?
Yeah, I guess I'll add that in blackberries, somewhere, maybe some decade down the line, we could do it, but it's really hard because blackberries are really complicated genetically. So sort of like blackberries are sort of off the table. We'll try to use these tools to better understand how blackberries do something, but it can be hard to use. The one where there's most progress is raspberries, and that's been a debate with the Washington Red Raspberry Commission, because years ago they developed a raspberry bushy dwarf immune Meeker red raspberry. And they put it on the shelf. It went through all the testing. It's just sitting there. And so the debate is, well, how big a problem is bushy dwarf? Do we want to fight this battle with the consumers? All those things have been discussed. I know up at the Linden meetings a year and 2 months ago, they discussed that. So there is the possibility more in red raspberries, but I don't know of any other project that's ongoing to try to do it. And black raspberries, I think there's only 2 of us doing really serious research, and none of it's GMO. So.
We are mapping the
I'll talk about that a little bit this afternoon, but that's not, yeah, I guess when you say GMO, I'm assuming you mean transgenic plants where you're taking genes from some plant and moving it to another plant.
We are trying to give money to map the genome of black raspberries, so that will help us in the future breed or select certain characteristics naturally, or in the distant future, possibly GMO, but it's not accepted by the consumer, so we're not going there.
You know, one thing I'd like you guys to comment on, actually, I've got a 15-minute thing here on the variety development on-farm trials, and a lot of your money goes toward Chad's program, and I think you give some to Pat Moore up at WSU for developing raspberries. Could you say a little bit, put you on the spot a little bit about where you think variety and planting, I mean, that's going to be a huge driver in the next 5-10 years, is what people are going to be putting in the ground. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll make a quick comment on that. I think the money that we've spent on our variety selections and the money that we spend developing them, it has, taken huge steps in the last 5 years. I grow every type of caneberry there is, and if I can get one that doubles the yield of what I've got now that's root rot resistant, I've cured a lot of labor problems, I've cured a lot of pesticide problems, and I think it's the way to go for the future. That's why we keep leading that direction. And I think the on-farm trials that Tom's kind of overseeing is, I was all in favor of that because we can grow them in a controlled environment, but we want to see how they grow in real production by real people outgrowing them. And the universities do a good job. Bernadine does a fabulous job, but it's in the middle of harvest, and I don't really get time to look at what's going on when they're in production, or if they're in the field where we can study them and make a few mistakes with them and see how they perform. I think it's in the right direction.
I guess the whole idea of starting these on-farm trials was Chad developed the varieties and they raised them at Aurora there, and they had their little test plots with 6 or 8 plants or something. But and then it seemed to me like we should have went one step further and actually put them out into a commercial type or operation, so you can kind of see how they do in different farms, different climates, different areas, and also to help different farms kind of get familiar with these newer varieties, because it seems to me like a lot of these newer varieties have a lot more potential for production and disease resistance and frost resistance, more so than Marion. And if you look at the data that we put out the last few years, you can tell a lot of the growers now are going towards black diamond predominantly, and blackberries probably.
Thornless.
Yeah, definitely thornless, and the market is accepting them well, and the production looks good on them. And I think this year might be another indicator. If you got black diamond that doesn't freeze out like Marion possibly did this year, we can keep a more steady supply of fruit in the market, keep the buyers supplied, and keep the price more stable. I think long term it'll help everybody.
I think the breeding program is what's going to help us a lot, because we need the high tonnage, root rot control, pesticide, into the pesticide and what have you. It's like our area. I don't know a lot of the areas. I live down by Boring. I wouldn't mind picking up another 5, 10, 15 acres. But to get raspberry ground, which I predominantly grow, it's just not there. It's all mainly nursery stock now, so I gotta go shoot for tonnage, because the ground just isn't there to expand. And even though now I think some of the nursery stock's starting to open back up, but I think that industry's picking back up again. I see a lot more semis this year than I have in the last few years. But just the better breeds is what's gonna help us a lot.
Randy?
Related to this, and Tim said it correctly at the beginning, and you corrected him, so I want to make sure that it's complicated on how the breeding program is funded. And I love it that Chad's always called an OSU employee, but obviously he's not, darn it. But it historically has been a USDA ARS OSU cooperative program. And so the big umbrella is that Chad makes all the hard decisions and is releasing these great varieties. but the ORBC may support a piece of Chad's breeding program, but what the ORBC has historically supported is the Oregon State University piece. So your dollars do go to Oregon State University, and it supports the OSU cooperative piece of the breeding program, which is based at North Willamette, where we have the field days. But it also goes to support, in many years, hopefully, the work that Brian Yorgie does, which you'll be talking about, which is the piece of the important things that you mentioned, is not all growers can come and see the material in the field, and many of these are processed. So having that material available to evaluate is very important. So those are two really important pieces of funding, and they're just a piece of the overall breeding program. So I hope that makes it a bit more clear, because the money does come to me as part of that OSU piece of that cooperative breeding program. And then the piece will go to you, Tom, to coordinate the grower cooperator trials, which is a piece of that entire program. I also wanted to clarify that. I thought it was interesting you mentioned the organic blackberry production and the demand for that. And I was wondering if you had some more thoughts about that. I did want to share with you that I'm the lead on that federal funding for the organic blackberry research, and we are, thank you for advertising our webinar, which is March 13th. It's close to the same presentation I gave at the North Willamette Fork Society meeting, but it will include presentations from Dave Bryland, Luis Valenzuela on irrigation and what we know about root growth so far. But I wanted to share that that federal grant is ending also at about the same time as the SWD grant. And so if this is a priority, I guess I'd love your thoughts. I was under the impression, perhaps it's wrong, that the ORBC was not able to fund organic research. And so I wanted your thoughts on that.
Just as we run out of time, you open up this can.
I guess a yes or no would work.
Not very sad.
You've got 30 seconds, Tim.
We don't historically assess organics, so we promote blackberries, whether they're organic or whether they're conventionally grown, but we don't receive money from organics. If somebody, organics are exempt, they have to provide the commission with their certification, and just like the organics are exempt from national organic programs, they're exempt from any federal assessment as well. So we all share in the research that we all pay for, whether it's through a federal grant or through money from the ORBC. So that's something I would personally like to change, but that we have to change the law in order to do that. So we do promote all blackberries, but yet we, at this time, we don't knowledgeably receive money from organics. Does that help?
For you folks who haven't followed the history of this, there was a big blow up a few years ago where some of the organic folks came to a commission meeting and really made an issue of this and got organics exempt. And at this point, it seems like there's an argument that I know with the commissioners and discussions to go back to the organic community and have a dialogue with them. Because we'd like to support, I shouldn't say we, I'm not the commission, but there is support for doing organic research with commission money, but it always comes right up against this issue, is they don't even support us. Why would we put the money toward that? Where our assessments come from the other folks. So that's kind of the issue, it's out there.
My view is I like to return the money to the people that pay into the commission. Right now, about 43% of our monies come from marionberries. So do we support marionberries 40%? Do we support Sylvans 17%? Do we support blue diamonds? So we have to find a balance in that. And now with the Washington processed Washington Red Raspberry Commission and the National Red Raspberry Promotion. And how do we find that balance? So that's a constant point of discussion in our meetings. How do we find a balance? Because one of our members grows catatas, and so how do we represent catatas? Do we just support Marions, or no? We have to support all of them. Yes.
Tim, I do want to say that a couple of comments. One is, I think getting the letter of support, it wasn't financial, but getting the letter of support from the ORBC when I submitted for funding for the federal organic money, I think made a big difference. So you may not support it financially, but you certainly did verbally, and that's appreciated. And secondly, my argument would be that conventional growers, I think, will learn quite a bit from the organic blackberry trellis. We're learning about root growth, et cetera. And I would also argue that all the nutrition work that you are funding, that I'll be talking about today, a small piece of that is Marion, but many growers benefit. So I think when we learn about physiology and nutrition and culture, that benefits all caneberry growers, including Marion.
I would agree. I think we can all learn from each other, no matter where the research comes from, where it goes, but we can all learn from each other. So if we share in the information, I think we should share in the promotion of that information as well.
Last comments.
One more quick comment. Probably a lot of you don't realize this, but we leverage a lot of grant funds. We take your money and we go out for grants to try and leverage that money to expand into different things. We do a promotion one almost every year that leverages, I'm not quoting exactly, but $20,000 in terms of it, astronomical amounts of benefits for all of you.
I just really encourage more industry folks to not get on the commission is fine, but just to show up at meetings and have some of this debate. They are deciding a lot of issues that affect your livelihood or discussing them. So, any further questions, burning questions from other than Burnaby? Or Chad?
We do have world-class scientists helping us out in the blackberry and raspberry industry, and we're very lucky to be here in the Northwest to experience that expertise. And to me, I find it quite amazing that we have different government organizations that actually do work together for a common goal.
Thanks, guys.